Henry Pacific Mayala. I'm joining from Kinshasa. I'm a Chevening alumnus from 2019. I went for a master's in international politics at Birkbeck University of London. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Henri. I know we will be joined with Ishara, who's confirmed as well. Ishara, please, can you introduce yourself, and if you are okay with it, switch on your video.
Yeah, thank you, Elise. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah. Right.
All right, thanks. Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Ishara Bahati Urabuchiza, and I'm a Chevening alumnus. I went in the UK in the year 2020, 2021, and I did a master at Warwick University in cybersecurity and management. Thank you.
Thank you. And lastly, I guess for introduction, my name is Elise Baraka, and I did my master's in entrepreneurship and innovation at the University of Edinburgh. Happy to host you guys and eager to hear your questions. Before we get started, I wanted us to just do a quick survey and hear how far you are with your essays. Are you able to access the link or scan as the session will go by? We'll come back to this and check the results. Please continue to send your questions in the chat. We're going to keep look and keep watch and make sure that all questions are responded to. Okay. So without further ado, I'm going to go to the first question online. So this is an anonymous question, and they want to know who should they choose as their referees. Henri, do you want to take that?
Okay, thank you for that. Generally, what I suggest to people is to have at least someone who knows them from a personal perspective, either as an academician and much better as a professional. So go for your former supervisor, preferably your most recent positions. And if you've been collaborating on some academic works or purposes, that should also work. Briefly, those are my recommendation for when it comes to choose for the person to serve as a referee.
Thank you for that. I hope it's quite clear. In case there's any other question on references, please drop it in the chat. The second question is, does the selected program have to be similar across the selected university? Okay, I'm assuming that they are referring to the 3 separate university applications they ought to do, and whether they need to choose only one program across each of the 3 universities. Ishara, do you mind going for that?
Yeah, thanks, Alize. To be coherent, I think it's always a good idea to have similar courses selected for universities. Of course, nothing forbids you from selecting 3 different courses or programs. However, you need to explain the rationale behind that. And usually you can't say you're going to do, let's say, mathematics and then say computer science, and then you add in, let's say, like politics or international politics. It will be hard to see how those 3 will fit together, especially when it comes to your career plan essay, because you will have to make one career plan essay. Now how are you going to fit all 3 different subjects into one career plan essay? Because if you're going to be whether a mathematician, a programmer, or maybe just, somebody will be working in international politics. So that's why I think it's a good idea to have something coherent, which programs which are tied together in the same domain of studies.
All right, thank you for that, Shara, and it's quite spot on because it all boils down to how you're going to explain or justify the choice of 3 different courses or programs. It will make quite complicated for your presentation. The following question is what happens if the university send me an offer before I know, of the outcome of Chevening Scholarship. So for most universities, they allow deferral. So I guess you can defer. This happened to me, I think in 2020, whereby I was accepted before I knew the outcome of Chevening. And what I did is discuss with the university, told them that I've applied for a scholarship and I'm waiting for feedback. And if they can carry my application to a different period, which they did. So I'll say once you have this offer, just engage with them. And then until Chevening Scholarship comes through, then you can update your application accordingly. All right. Again, please keep the question coming in the chat. If you want to ask verbally, ask to be unmuted. Just raise your hand, please. All right. Proceeding. How soon does Chevening respond after applying? Henri, are you there? No, sorry, you're on mute.
Sorry, I keep muting myself. So about the timeline, it's all presets, and I think details are provided all together on the application's website page. So about the timeline, I'm not sure. I still have on mind how long it exactly takes, but probably you apply around November and interview during, through June, if my mind, is that correct?
Yeah, I've just sent a timeline, the latest timeline on chat. I believe the shortlisting for interviews is happening early, mid-February, I think, early to mid-February, according to what they've communicated there.
So I have it on my screen. Application ends, mid-November. That is normally when applications close. Then probably the process starts with the reading committee, which goes from November through early February. Then February to late April, that is when shortlisted applicants for interview are contacted. And within February to late April, references are expected. Then from February to June, interviews take place. And from late June to early July, selected applicants are notified.
Perfect. Just to add to clarify one thing regarding the application deadline. It's on 1st of November. The date has been shared. And please make sure that you have submitted your application by then. Just a best practice while you are here, target to finish and submit by maybe a week before the deadline. That is because it happens that the system become a bit sluggish, and you may end up creating delays for your submission. We're going to take one live question, saying Mr. Patrice Chibangu. Can you please unmute? Is that working?
I think you need to unmute him from your side.
I have already. I think he's now unmuted. Please go ahead.
Hello?
Hello, Patrice, we can hear you.
Yeah, thank you very much for this opportunity. I had my two questions. The first question is to know when is the right time to apply to UCAS, to apply for the universities. when is exactly the right time? That's the first question. The second question, is there any possibility to convince the universities that I have an acceptable level in English and that I don't need to take a standardized test for me to get an unconditional offer? Those were the two questions I had. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Patrice. Ishara, do you want to take that? So
Yes,
I'm
I
going
want
to
to
just
take it.
repeat the two questions. When is the right time to apply for UCAS? I'm not quite sure what that means. I'm assuming that's university. And the second one is how does he convince the university that he has an acceptable level of English and that doesn't require an English test? Thanks.
All right. Yeah, thank you. So for the first question, when is the good time to apply to UCAS? First of all, you have the possibility to apply through UCAS, as UCAS, I think, allow you to apply to multiple university at the same time. You don't have to apply to each different university like separately. So that's one good thing with UCAS, but you can also apply to university separately, going to each university website and apply there. And the good time is as soon as possible, I would say, because the process takes some time, and it's always a good idea to, the sooner you apply, the sooner you receive an unconditional offer, or even if they decline your admissions, that's still a good to get that rejection early. That will allow you to pursue admissions for other university. That's why I would advise, usually I think applications open early at the end of September or early October at most universities. So I would advise you to apply as soon as possible. Regarding the second question, could you remind me again?
English.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. English. Yeah. So this is it depends on each university. So if a university, usually if you're not you didn't study from an approved list of English-speaking countries, and these are like less than 10, I think, Canada, USA, the UK itself, and maybe Japan, I'm not sure. So if you did not study in those countries, they usually ask you to prove your level of English. And once they ask you that, if you're from an English-speaking country, another English-speaking country, you can ask them to waive it with just an email or a letter. You can ask them to waive that condition. But it's the university, it's ultimately falls upon the university to decide whether they will accept that your English level is on a good level, it's good enough for them or not. So there is nothing you can do other than ask them to waive it. And if they ask you to still do the English test, I'm afraid you're going to have to do it. Just ask, once you get that condition, you ask for a waiver, and for the waiver to be approved, you need to say like you've studied in an English-speaking countries, or you finished your degree recently, and means of learning was English. If you were studying in English, then they can waive it, but it's not an automatic process. It's just depend from one university to another.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Ishara, for those answers. We're going to take another live question from, I believe, there's no name, TechnoSpark. Can you please unmute and ask a question?